All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Gonna take some questions today. Gonna poke around some sessions. Let's see. How's everybody's day going? Not super good. Let me see. Do me a favor, hit the like button. I'm going to experiment with, I don't know, pull up a session or something. Let me see. Still trying to figure this whole thing out. Man, so I did this for the first time a few days ago, and figuring out how to get a proper live stream situation going was just such a hilarious fail. And let me check. I'm trying some new video stuff here. Let me see how it looks. Looks pretty mediocre. Yep, cool. I'm not sure how many people who watch this. Michael Riley, thank you, man. Your channel is inspiring. Thank you, appreciate it. Laney Sommer, what's up? My day is going great. How is yours? Have an extra cup of coffee? Yes, I would, for sure will. Cheers. What's up, AirTuber? Dedicated fan. All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'm experimenting with a few things. Oh, this is mirroring. That's why. Okay. Let's use a separate display. Hopefully this doesn't mess up the stream. Hopefully people can still see me. Let me know if anything goes down in the stream. Carol L, got my cup of coffee ready for your Q&A. Let's see. Noah Page. Do you have issues when doing other non-drum related tasks like mixing, etc., with the drums resonating in the room? Fair question. I personally don't. The way that I built this room was basically to make it as dead as possible. Back when I worked at out in LA, there was this mix engineer who, his name is Spike Stent. He's just a total legend. And before I knew that I was leaving LA and we had our next place sort of picked out. Sorry, I'm going to try to look at the camera today. I told my buddy, who's his assistant, Michael Freeman, that I was building this studio or whatever. And Spike gave me some advice. And he just looked me dead at the eyes, and he's British. He just looked me in the eyes and said, make it dead. And I kind of laughed because his studio is very dead and actually not too dissimilar as far as size. But he was dead serious, to use a pun. So the room is pretty dead. If there was a rug on the floor, it would be completely dead in here. But for the most part, no. I turn the snares off, and there's not a lot of buzzing or ringing or anything happening when I'm mixing, and it's pretty good. The shelves in the back is where I keep, the snares. I keep all the snares turned off, and there's usually stuff on top of them. So yeah, it's pretty problem free. Haven't noticed it affecting. At the end of the day, when I leave this room and listen to the mixes outside of this room, they sound really great, and that's all that really matters when it comes down to it. Let's see. Adley Studios, bro. I meant to ask you about your channel growth. What made you to decide to go all in? I wanted to diversify. I've had a YouTube channel. I think I made my first, sort of channel as a kid in 2006. That's when I did my first upload on it's an older, whatever, channel that doesn't really exist anymore. But I put up a couple videos that year. I was ninth grade or something, and yeah. So I've been consuming YouTube for a long time, and last year, actually a couple years ago, I started this channel. It was under a different name. I think there's a couple videos that are still up. You can see from when we lived in Vegas. The channel was actually called Recording Ideas, and I had this idea that I wanted to make a blog and use YouTube as sort of a bonus content for the blog. But the blog was essentially this channel. I just called it Recording Ideas instead of calling it my name. And yeah, I didn't realize, and I wish I would have, how powerful YouTube is, and if I would have just kept making videos instead of writing blogs about what I make videos about, that would have been probably the smarter thing to do. But last year I decided, you know what, I'm going to make more videos and try to bring something unique to the table. I think the YouTubers that I watch that I find most interesting, it's not necessarily what they're making videos about, it's them. And I thought, I am obsessed with a handful of things, and I could talk about those things till the end of time. So if I could figure out a way to sort of do the thing that I wanted to do with the blog and show, like the idea was show the 15-year-old version of myself tips in bite-sized portions that are easy to understand, and try to make those tips not boring, or as least boring as possible. So I had a couple inspirations as far as style and the way you produce the videos and put things together, and then there's a financial incentive and a brand incentive. If you make compelling videos, then companies start to notice, and they want to work with you because you get attention, people watch the channel, and if somebody wanted to do a deal with me, I figured that's better than not. So yeah, just been going in since it's May now, so it's been 11 months. And the end of this month, I think I uploaded my first my first vlog. I don't know if you guys have gone that far back, but that was May 31st or right around June. And I think I uploaded 2 or 3 videos in June. And that's when I was like, I like this. I want to do more of this. So yeah, ever since then, it's been going pretty well. And I think the key is to just make videos that you like to watch, because otherwise it becomes pretty mundane and it feels a bit like a task. And ultimately, if you're doing something, you should do it for yourself. Cheers. Smash like. Thank you. Noah Page, can you put Ableton Live 10 Suite tutorial, please? Yeah, I could look into doing something like that. I don't ever use Ableton, so I might not be the best person to do that, but I've always been interested in learning it. I just, it's funny. This is a very meta thing that's happening right now, because the reason I have not looked into Ableton is I have not found a compelling person to show me the ropes. And I understand all of these programs are basically the same, but Ableton is unique in its workflow, and I'm pretty sure you can do most of the things you can do in other programs. There's, everything has their sort of unique color to it, but Ableton is definitely a unique bird. I did a session with this guy who has I don't know if it's a band or if he's an artist. It's called Clean Bandit, and maybe I could pull. No, I don't know if I could pull that one up. But I watched him just bang out songs in the studio, like at East West. It's expensive for studio time there, and he was booking Studio 2, which is like a legendary rock room with AC/DC, the Rolling Stones, bunch of huge artists who've worked in there. And this dude just, we hooked him up with the aux cable for his laptop. Or actually, I think he brought in an Apollo, like a twin. And we're just plugging it into 2 channels of the Neve, and he was doing all the work on Ableton. And I've never seen somebody throw a track together so fast. It was really cool to see, like, somebody who's really well versed in their program, but not as an engineer, as like a creative songwriter, producer, and just put together an amazing song in like minutes. And then he would just export the stems, and we'd throw it into Pro Tools and cut some vocals to it. It was awesome. So, to sort of answer your question, I've been waiting for that compelling Ableton tutorial myself, which has prevented me from diving into it. But yeah, no, I should check that out. Right now I'm sort of flirting with Luna. Let me know if the audio's okay. I can't really tell. I don't really know what's going on, but until you guys say there's a problem, I'm gonna just pretend like there is nothing wrong. Yeah, I've been flirting with Luna. I don't know if any of you guys have tried it out yet. I know. Adlace Studios. I think your name's Sean. I think you're rocking Studio One, and I've used that before. I used to teach recording, and that was one that I gave a few lessons on. That was a pretty good program. But yeah, I'm really interested in, I use Pro Tools for literally everything, but I like these. I like the competition. I like when new companies try to come out and try to beat the status quo, and I've got nothing against all of the other programs. When I was coming into the industry, I'm like the older generation who didn't want to leave tape. That's sort of how I am with Pro Tools. But I like Luna because of the monitoring, the input monitoring, the low latency monitoring. So when I'm back there playing drums, I'm hearing all of my favorite plugins. I'm hearing all the processing, the tape saturation while I'm tracking, and it just sounds so good. It makes a really big difference. Time waster. Audio is fine. Okay, here we go. Forgive me if I say this wrong. Louis Briones. What do you think are the benefits of having a drum cloud directly over the kit? It's about 7 feet above and came with the lockout. I have a hard time hearing the difference. What am I missing? Okay. Sean. Okay, yeah, cool. Carol L. Jack is proud of his dad. Yes, thank you. GG. Time waster. Loved your Luna video. Can't wait till you release more specific. Yeah, that'll be fun. Louis, so the cloud thing is really a taste thing, in my opinion, unless there's a problem as far as the acoustics of the room. I know I talk about Eric Valentine a lot, but he, in his studio in LA, they built this thing called the Drumbrella. And there's a video of them showing the Drumbrella, how it works, and actually sitting at the kit, hitting the snare as they raise the Drumbrella up and down. And that's when you can really, really hear what the cloud is doing. Every drum, sort of like every dimension snare drum that's different, sounds and resonates different depending on the depth of the snare. So having an adjustable cloud, that's where the power really comes, because then you can have, you can control the space around that drum to make it resonate more or less. I put these up behind me, and this is just a little bit over 7 foot high ceiling. And there was just something funny going on in the middle of the room as far as room flutter, and I wanted to kind of nip that in the bud and have a little more control over the kit. But yeah, it just sounds, now the room just sounds completely controlled. It's awesome. Okay, let's see. Another coffee. Thank you guys so much for all the support, man. It's just been a lot of fun. I'm going to try and not sip right in the mic. Javier, tape saturation is off when recording on Luna. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't tried to use that when it's on input monitoring, but holy cow. Just so I put up a few videos a week or so ago, and they were all from 2 sessions that I did. And the first one, I think I did a cover to test Luna, and then right after the cover, I did a session for another client, and just did drums and Luna for all of these times. And then I wound up putting out the Luna video and the Get Tight Drum Sounds video, all just in sort of 2 sessions. And yeah, man, listening to the drums in Luna and then putting the tape oxide or saturation, whatever it's called, on that and sort of tinkering around with it, that was awesome. Let's see. Conquest. Hey man, how would you go about recording drums with 2 mics going into an audio box 96 USB? Okay, I'm gonna look at what that is. I'm sure it's just another interface. Audio box USB 96. Boom. Oh yeah, I remember that. I think I have one of those somewhere in a box. How would I go about recording drums with 2 mics into an audio box? Well, my go-to favorite answer is it depends on what kind of drum sound I was looking for, what else was in the mix. For instance, if you're recording drums to something that already has some sort of percussive element to it, like a programmed loop or beat or something like that, then you wouldn't have to be so concerned with getting a close sound. You could experiment with more distant room miking and sort of layer that on top. That would be a cool way to use your stereo plugs or your stereo input. If you were looking to get that close mic sound, then maybe something like a mono overhead, and then a mic out in front of the kick drum. You can do in the kick drum, whatever it's to taste, depends on the song. As far as microphones, I don't know. If you're recording into the audio box, then you might be sort of strapped on microphone budget options. One of my first videos was recording drums with 2 mics, and I think I did the D112 and a SM81. 2 budget mics, they're $300-400. Actually, I think the D112 is like $100, $150. But yeah, I would just experiment, use whatever you have, try closer, further, different miking positions, something down low and something up high, either over the kit. A good mic placement, if you're just using 2, for the actual kit, would be right over the shoulders. That's one of my favorite positions. If you have a large diaphragm condenser, literally the drummer sitting at the kit, just sneak the mic parallel with the ear and sort of tilt it just a little bit forward, right at the center of the kit. Sort of at the corner of the bass drum between like the tom and the ride and the snare and all of that. That's a great position. It sounds awesome. So yeah, try that. Time Waster, thank you for the super chat. Loved your Luna video. Can't wait for your release. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Franco Fuzz, can you tell us how it was to work with Blake Mills? The Alabama Shakes sound and color production is so good. Your channel is great. Thank you, Franco. I'm just going to read this super chat here. If you guys leave a super chat, I will love you till the end of time. Time Waster, you are the Peter McKinnon of the audio world. That is my favorite compliment of all time. He was my creative inspiration to make videos. Happy you are here in this genre. Keep the videos coming, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys don't know who Peter McKinnon is, I don't know where you've been living, but that guy does videos has a YouTube channel on like photography and videography, and I wasn't interested in either of those things, and I'd basically watched all of his videos, so I was like, oh, there's something he's doing that is, attracting me to these videos, even though I don't care about what he's talking about. If I could do that with the things that I'm interested in, then perhaps, you could help out people. Like I've learned so many things about cameras and lenses and photography just because of this dude's videos, and big inspiration for me. Thank you, Time Waster, for that. Okay, Justin Tudor, bro. What's up, Andrew? Just letting you know the Tudors are cooking dinner and watching the stream. I love that. I was just telling Ariana, my wife, that 8 p.m. is the money time because I love cooking dinner and listening to podcasts and live streams. Okay. Oh, sorry. I skipped over the Franco. Can you tell us how it was to work with Blake Mills? Yes, it was unbelievable. Blake is a very young, talented, down-to-earth person, and I am so unbelievably happy that I got to work with him. So I was at East West for 5 years, and a little over 5 years, and my last few sessions that I did were probably the coolest. The first one, the last 3 out of 4 were with Blake. So Blake came in hot off of the Alabama Shakes record. He did Sound and Color here in Nashville, actually, and then came back out to LA and produced January. We did John Legend's Darkness and Light, or whatever it's called. I always forget it. I'm sorry. That record, and he brought in the best players. We had Chris Dave, Pino Palladino, just all the top guys, and everybody was so nice. I think when you're at that level and just the sheer amount of talent in the room, everybody's in a good mood. You're in a great sounding studio. Everything's sounding good. Blake is a very laid-back guy, and I learned a lot about production and engineering because he's not an engineer per se. Even that's what he said. I think he has a great ear for sounds, but he's listening as a producer for what is interesting, and he's not necessarily concerned about, the details technically as far as how to get it, but very, very down to earth, very generous, fun guy. Just, we did like insanely long sessions. I mean, 16-hour days. I did a video with him. He was generous enough to sit down with me at like 2 a.m. after a long day of recording, and then we did an interview, which was just so cool. He didn't have to do that. Learned a lot from him. So after the John Legend record, we did a Dawes record. I think the record was called We're All Gonna Die. And then after the Dawes record, we did a Jim James record, and I don't remember the Jim James record, but all of those were so great. 2 different engineers. The first engineer on the John Legend record was Sean. Oh gosh, I can't believe it. Sean Everett. Very unique guy, very creative dude, interesting engineering style. I think he's just killing it. He did the Alabama Shakes record as well, and then on the Dawes record, he brought in Greg Kohler, who works for John Bryan, who just owns like every amazing piece of equipment you could ever dream to have. And he brought in an EMI console from Abbey Road that he has. He just bought the console from Abbey Road and brought it with him into East West, which already has an 40-channel Neve. And then he brought in a bunch of original Universal Audio 610 channels, like in little shoe boxes. So the amount of nerd going on that session and quality recording was unbelievable. It was so fun. But yeah, Blake produced all those. And then the last session I did at East West was for this band called the Shadowboxers, who lives in LA now, was living in Nashville at the time, and Justin Timberlake found them, signed them, is developing them took them on his world tour, and then he was producing them on that session. I think we did 2 weeks, and that was incredible. What an amazing person to just be in a room with and watch work. Super nice. Blake and Justin, super duper nice guys. It's really nice when you hear about people like that and then you meet them and work with them and they just surprise you with how cool they are. Okay, Polyphonic Groove. Wow. Thank you for the super chat. That is insanely generous. Great dinner time chat. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate that. That's amazing. Let me scroll up, getting a lot of comments here. Yohai Portal. Tell more about the way you work with your master channel. So, the master channel mix bus. Okay, so I've sort of always done it one way, and over the past year, I've changed it up because of Eric Valentine. Eric showed me something on his channel. Basically, he uses 2 mix buses. So there's one mix bus that all of the music is going through. So all of the drums, everything that is not a voice goes through the music mix bus, and that's processed on its own aux, on its own channel. And then he has a second mix bus. So the language, I don't know if you'd still call them mix buses, sub mixes, whatever, is all the vocals. And I didn't quite understand it until I started doing it, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing over the past year. And the music bus, what I've always, or recently, what I like to put on there, my go-to is I'll do a Fab Filter EQ, and that's mostly serving as a surgical plugin for EQing, and I will use that to remove any sort of problem frequencies and make broad moves all at once if I need to. And then after the Fab Filter EQ, I will do the Universal Audio Pultec EQ. So the Fab Filter I only use to cut EQs, and then for the boosting I will use either the UAD Pultec EQP 1A, or I will sometimes use the Pro version of that. And if I'm not using that EQ, then I'll experiment with the Slate. They came out with the Infinity EQ. I tried that recently. I was pretty surprised by how good that was. And then the other Slate one, which is I don't know the name of it. It's an Air. I think it's one of the Air mastering EQs that he has. I'd used that for a while and I really liked that. There's a preset on that called Mastering Frequencies, which just sort of chooses the bands that you can adjust. And I've used that for just the slightest boosts on the Smiley, low frequencies and high frequencies. And then the compressor that I always use on the mix bus is the Slate Virtual Bus Compressor. The I think it's the it's labeled VBC or something like that. Gray, it's the gray one. That one, to me, I set how I would set the SSL G bus compressor. I do the same setting every single time. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. I do auto release. I do a 3 millisecond attack, and I keep that the same every single time. And then you put that on. I do all of this on my mix bus when I'm starting. So before I even record anything, this stuff is already on my mix bus. And then it stays on there all the way to the end of the whole project. And then all I do is, if I need to adjust it, I just pull it open and I grab the threshold and sort of pull the threshold up, pull it down a little bit. All I'm looking for with that compressor is like a -3 to -4 or -5 decibel attenuation on it. I like that that level of compression from that specific compressor. It sounds really, really nice, and it's just acts as a glue for everything that you're putting in there. And I do that top down, so then when I go on to the individual tracks, it's less work because it's already sort of cohesive. And then as far as the vocals, I'm always experimenting with the vocals. I like having the two separate buses because, if it's almost like a trim. So I'll automate the vocals and the grooves and the reverbs and stuff going into the vocal mix bus. And then if there's any changes, like if everything on the vocals sounds really good, I just want to bring the whole thing down a dB or a half a dB. Then that's when you go to that vocal mix bus and just automate that just a hair, for any corrections. Love that. Hopefully that answered your question. Gosh, I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Ramjeet. I'm gonna call you Ramjeet. We're just gonna call you that because I'm not good at spelling. I've never been a good speller. Can you do a video of studio setup for beginners about essential things as a producer or a beginner? Yeah, I was actually thinking about doing that today. So yeah, let me know like what specifically, because there's sort of like a bunch of different things. Maybe I could do a few or a series on it. I'm just not sure how sort of what to do. I'll think about that. Yeah. Let's see. Got another insane super chat here from Polyphonic Groove. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. So I'm sort of prioritizing these chats by super chats. So I will get to your guys' questions. If you leave a super chat, I will love you forever. You're awesome. So are you mixing as you track and then fine tune during mixing, or do you start mixing from scratch? Okay, so yes, great question. I want it to sound as good as it can right from the beginning. So theoretically, you could say as I'm placing mics from the start, like I'm mixing, I'm choosing how close or how far the mics are going to be. I'm thinking about the mix before I even pick the mics or the placement and stuff like that. And then once you actually start recording, it's the same thing. I'm very much a template guy, so I like to use, I'm not going to just pick random settings and random plugins when I do stuff. I like things to sound how I know that they're going to sound, and so I'll pull in my drum template if I'm starting with drums or whatever. Usually we'll do scratch. We'll do some pre-production scratch vocals, scratch guitar, or something like that from top to bottom. Put a little EQ compression on that, whatever, just to keep it sort of consistent and cohesive, and then layering on. Sometimes I'll program drums on top of that, and then after programming the drums, then we'll actually cut drums. But right from the get-go, I'm mixing, as I'm coming in. I'm getting the levels that I like, that sound good to me. I have my drum bus, and then I have my individual drum tracks. If I'm doing a kick in and a kick out mic, those are going to a single kick aux, and that kick aux, I'll blend the two together, and everything else is sort of individual going into the sub mix. So at the end, essentially the sub mixes are what I will be sort of automating at the end, but I'm getting the sounds, as much as as close to how it's going to be in the mix, like right from the beginning. I want it to sound so I know, like, okay, yeah, this is it. So I don't do a lot of processing. I really try to get things right going in, and then, if there's a little bit, just making sure the phase is good coming in, checking that, if you're picking the right instruments, if you're picking the right gear while you're tracking, then it should really not take, that much work once you start pulling in plugins. Because essentially, the more things you're putting on, you're either adding color or you're fixing problems. So I'm trying to eliminate all problems and just pick the right things that I know are going to work well together from the get-go, and then sort of shape how much of the overheads I'm going to want versus like how much, direct close mics I'm going to want. And then, apply that same process for every other element that gets recorded. And at the end of all tracking, I just take my drum bus, drag it to the left side of the screen. I sort of mix left to right. So I'll have my master fader all the way to the left, my music mix bus right next to that, my vocal mix bus right next to that, and then I'll have all my submix tracks. So I'll have a drum submix aux, bass aux, guitar, electric guitars, acoustic guitars, lead vocal aux, background vocal aux, and then get into like some of the effects, different reverbs, delays and stuff like that right next to it. And then I'm basically just mixing auxes at that point, because I've gotten the sounds how I want them going into the sub mixes. So I don't really, if I need to, then I can scroll through and sort of tweak like the individual channels, but you want it to be as close as you can right from the get-go. Hopefully that answered your question, Polyphonic Grooves. You're awesome. Thank you again for the super chat. Let's see. I'm going to take another sip here. Darkness and Light, John Legend. That's right. Okay. Holy cow. There's a lot of questions here. I just got an Apollo. This is MRO the Viking. I just got an Apollo, and how do I raise my headphone volume with the console software if I'm away from the interface? How do you make it louder? I think you can control your cues from console. Like, so if you have console open and you go to your let me see, cue outputs, there should be a fader in here somewhere where you can control that, how much you're sending to your cues. Let me see here. Virtual. I'm going to be straight honest with, I don't use the Apollo headphone stuff. I haven't really dove too deep into the auxes and the talkback and all that stuff on the Apollo. I like somebody fresh out of audio school. I actually take the outputs from my Apollo into my monitor control, and I just do a stereo. I just grab the fader and on that and just use that. But I'm sure there's a way to do it. I don't actually know the answer to that. I'm sorry. Let me see. There's a lot here. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. Javier, sorry, I'm so bad. Amato, are you busy full-time recording, producing, and mixing music? Yeah, it was before we were all staying at home. It was a lot of fun. It was I was really actively, producing full-time and recording and mixing. Not having clients over, so that's been different. I still mix and I still drum and record, but the clients are not here in the facility. So that's my cat Icarus. She's here for the stream. Lane Jones, what would you recommend for a larger 8XLR input audio interface? Was thinking about the Scarlett 18i20. Well, that's a great one. It depends. It depends on your budget. It depends on what you're going to be using it for. It depends on what how much money you want to spend, how long you're going to use it. Do you want to invest in, one system? What's cool is I have the 18i20. It's a really good interface. It is affordable. It's got, your 8 mic pre's. It's got, I think it has another 8 line in. I could be wrong on that. And it has an ADAT compatibility. So, I used that for a couple years, and then I got the Apollo X8P, which is Apollo's version of that, but, their thing. And I use both. I ADAT both of them in. But yeah, the Scarlett is good. The Apollo is great. I made a video comparing the mic pre's on both, and it's kind of a funny and silly video because I just did the stock Apollo mic pre's and I didn't use their unison pre's, and that's kind of the whole point of the Apollo is the unison pre's. So I was just sort of a silly comparison video. I think they're both good. You just get whatever works with your budget. There's not going to be a that much of a difference. I mean, if you get the Apollo, then, the idea is you spend more money up front and then down the line you can get the unison pre's and now you have 8 Neve pre's for $100. I think the Neve mic pre unison pre is $100. So you spend whatever it is, $30 or $3,000 on it, and you add $100 to get that plug-in, and now you have 8 Neve pre's, it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference, as well as like the clocking and the processing their own plugins on the hardware and then console, and you get Luna for free. So it sort of depends on what you're doing. The Focusrite is good though. Danger Dog Studio. Yo, Andrew. When compressing my mix on the master bus, it sounds massive and super punchy as it should. The problem is the pumping I'm hearing while doing this. Any tips on how to avoid that? Yeah, I mean, so a good way to sort of figure out the right pumping that you want is to exaggerate the compression. So just crank that threshold up so that it's just smashed, and then sort of experiment with the attack and the release. So if you have a fast attack, you're going to hear more pumping, and a fast release, you're going to hear more pumping. That's sort of the excited, fast movement that happens with that. So yeah, I keep mine, the same because I know I like the auto release, and I like the 3 or 5 millisecond. It's straight up the middle. I don't even know what the actual timing is on the attack, but yeah, just auto release is usually pretty good. And then just a good rule of thumb is setting your mix bus compressor to the gain reduction that you want. So and this depends on the music that you're mixing as well, but looking for a consistent gain reduction on your metering, that's key to having a good pump, if you will, or a good compression amount. I think I do -3 dB to -5 dB anywhere. Basically you want to go for the loudest part of the song, jump there, and like I would adjust the threshold to make sure that it doesn't compress more than 5 dB on the loudest part of the song, and that should be good. And obviously, as you add things in and change parts of the mix, you'll have to sort of revisit that and adjust it so that it's kosher, if you will. Culture, what's up? What's up? What's up? Lane Jones. Danger Dogs 3, I have the same problem. Javier and Darkness and Light. John Legend. If you avoid pumping... Danger Dog, you avoid pumping by not using a compressor that has the option of not compressing low frequencies. Okay. Franco Fuzz, thank for answering. Amazing. Basically a multi-band compression. All right, we got some conversation going on with each other in here. I like that. I'm gonna take a drink of my coffee. Okay, here we go. MRO the Viking. How do you get a signal going to the queue for the headphones with the Apollo Software Console 2? Is this the same question? Did I already? Signal to the cue for the headphones with the Apollo software. Well, that one's an easy one. It's on the sends. I think I can do a share here. Let me see. If I pull this down, desktop cam. If I jump over to my other screen, properties, display one, boom. All right. If you can see here, oh, I got to make this bigger. Can you guys see my screen? Let me just double check. Yeah, I think you guys can see. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can control the sends to the cues in your sends. So if you go into your sends here, you just click. You can build your cue mix right within the sends of each, and I think you can just arrow over between the channels. No, what is it? Command over? Yeah, command left and right to jump between the channels, and you can sort of build your cue mix within. Yeah, console is pretty cool. I honestly, I take it pretty slow with these things. I don't utilize console as I probably should. We'll switch back over to this. Victor Lopez, hello Andrew. Question: if you have to start again, which two mics would you get first? SM7 not allowed. That's hilarious. Wow, that's tough. What were the first two that I got? I think I got there was like an MXL combo pack from Guitar Center or something like that. It was like a large diaphragm condenser and a pencil condenser. I don't know if I would go with that. When you're starting off, I think it's attractive to go with some sort of condenser mic because they're brighter sounding, and when you're starting, it's very attractive to get a brighter sounding mic. It sounds very clear. I don't know. If I can't get the SM7, I would probably get some two mics. Oh, jeez. If it could be any mics, I'd get the the AEA R88, which is a stereo ribbon. It's about $2,300. And then I would get, what would be another cool one? Then I get like an 87. I don't know if that's suitable for the starting budget, but those will be two sick mics to get first. Okay, cool. I said your name right. Ramjeet. Okay, Marcus Hawkins. Drum compressor for live streaming? What? Drum compressor for live streaming. Is that Marcus? What? Are you drumming? Are you doing a live stream for drumming? I'm confused. Oh, I see. You saw my console setting. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I just used the 1176 on my SM7 to get that nice broadcasty sound. Alan Hunter, isn't it possible to have a second camera or split screen to see your actual mixing on screen? Yes, I have that. It is this thing. If I go right here, then you can see my mixer and my camera thing changes. So that's a whole thing. I'm not gonna mess around with that. I'll just take the camera off. Boom, so you can see that. Full screen. Yeah, I think that works. I'm not mixing right now, though. Joe Jam Live. Hey, Andrew, are there tips for making cheap drums sound better? Obviously not great, but usable to record. Yeah, for sure. Just being creative with the drums themselves. Get a roll of gaff tape. Experiment with putting different like fabrics and paper on the actual drums. Getting really good at tuning drums and experimenting with that, and just random stuff. One of my favorite drummers, Aaron Sterling, just brings in random stuff and uses that with his kit. He's got all the best drums in the world, and he'll go to a junkyard and bring some drumsticks and just find random things that sound cool, and he brings them into the session, and you're like, wow, We're doing overdubs on an ironing board today. Sweet, and just sort of knowing sounds and what you're looking for. You can just, there's really no rules. Honestly, there's no rules. And in fact, when you sort of embrace the fact that there's no rules and you just get creative and you're like, oh, well, that sounds cool. That was one of the things I liked about Blake is after the session was over, he would just walk around the live room and sort of hit things and, listen. And another guy who does this who's incredibly successful is Justin Timberlake. The dude, they're keenly aware of the sound of things and like grab random things and hit them and are listening for unique sounds. And it's silly. Like me doing that is silly. But I'll tell you what, man, watching Justin Timberlake take coffee cups and paper and coffee stirs and produce a sick record using random objects that are just sitting around. You can get super creative. As far as the actual drums, you just experiment with dampening. Gaff tape is the best for experimenting with that. Even going as far as using gaff tape on cymbals. You can get really weird with that. So paper on the snare drum, on drum heads, putting paper on that, trying different stuff like that. Tea towels, literally putting like thin towels or sheets over the drums. You can get really weird with it. It's there definitely, you shouldn't be limited by that. And then obviously mic placement and just keeping an open mind with different techniques. Polyphonic groove, awesome, thanks. Time Waster, Studio Cat, yes she is. I used to take Icarus to East West with me when I was downtime or whatever. Moonlight, what gave you the drive to pursue music as your full-time job? I'm not good at a lot of things. When I was in high school, I spent most of my time skateboarding and playing music with friends in like bands. I made like 4 or 5 bands with the same 3 dudes, and wound up wanting to record them. We recorded them, as we were kids and got a little bit older. And then I think my junior year or senior year in high school, I was in a different band, and we actually went to a studio. And I bought some stuff. I got my first interface. It was an Alesis. I don't know if Alesis is still around. And anyway, yeah, so I got out of high school and I was working a bunch of part-time jobs. I was stumbling around on the internet and I saw a video for a recording school, and it had, it was a perfect commercial of all these kids in a control room and, they're like making a record. It looks super cool and it's a big studio. And I was like, wait a second, you can do, like, I'm already doing that at home. Like you can do, like, that can be a job. So once I figured out like that I could do that as my job, I just immediately changed course and was like, all right, save money, move to Los Angeles. I picked a school that was in LA because I thought that there's a lot of studios in LA, so I could go to school, finish school, boom, job right there. Don't you have to move again. Yeah, I did that, and that's literally what happened. I moved a year later to Hollywood Boulevard, got an apartment on Hollywood Boulevard like a rookie, and went to school there at Musicians Institute for audio engineering program for 6 months, interned on my second quarter while I was in school at an internship in Burbank, and then interviewed before I graduated, got the job lined up. Graduation was on a Sunday. My first day working paid at East West was on a Monday. So yeah, I couldn't do anything else. I'm not good at very many things, and I'm not interested. I'm not good at doing things I'm not interested in. So here I am. MRO the Viking. I do my own music myself, but I'd love to get the human drums. Oh, lost it. I'd love to get human drums on my songs. Do you do drums for hire? And if so, how much does one alt-rock song cost to record? I like that you threw the genre in there. Yes, 100%. AndrewMastersMusic.com. You can go there, and it's as simple as typing it in. Yeah, there's a little welcome screen, and then you just hit book now. There's session drumming I do. You can hire me. It's $200, and you just pick a day and give me the details on the song, on the project, some references, and you can just book it through there. And there's steps that it'll walk you through on what to send and how to proceed from that point forward. Yeah, I love doing that. I love doing drums. That's sort of a big part of this business model here. So, yep, alt rock. That's a great genre for me too. I'm real big into that. My friend Andrew, that I've been producing his stuff, I had him on last night. We did a really, really cool kind of alt rocky song called "Hang Me." It's going to be coming out this month. Produced and engineered everything in this room. Sounds incredible. Ronel Drapeza. I'm sorry if I say that wrong. How do you grow in your instrument skill-wise? Probably drums for you, while also attempting to grow in production and recording. Well, you can do both. When I was younger, I played guitar and drums, and also was learning recording. And I'm from a very small town where there's no market for recording studios or music. So I literally had a setup in my parents' house with, I had a drum kit. I had the kit fully mic'd, a bunch of the mics that I still have. I had a half stack guitar amp. I had a combo amp. I had a Ampeg bass amp. It was basically a collection of stuff from my band that they just left their stuff at my house. But I had everything, full backline of instruments and stuff. And I couldn't talk people into coming and letting me record them for free. So I would just have to, in order to get better at recording, I'd just have to play it myself. And eventually you realize, when you do that, you realize how important it is to have a good player to get a great sounding song and recording. So yeah, I mean, just do it a lot. A lot of the people I admire always say the same things. They always say, do it for 30 minutes a day. Have 5 or 10 minute increments of, you do some scales, you do something that's sort of strategy practicing, and then do something that's sort of a reward. So learn a song you like or something like that as the payoff, and just do that every single day, 30 minutes or an hour if you can. That's what I do. I would just play all my favorite records on drums and guitar. Time Waster, dude, how much do you like the new speakers, and how do they compare to the ones you had? I love them. Yeah, they're incredible. Atom Audio A7Xs. I made a whole video comparing them. I had the Focal Alpha 65s. Those were good too. These are great, and I'm very happy with these. I sold the Focals actually to one of the guys in the chat, Justin. I think he's enjoying them. Those are great speakers. And another YouTuber friend of mine, Joshua, I think he also has the Focals. They're great. I love the Atoms though, man. I love how they sound. It was nice to be that Atom, let me compare them, and they sent them so I could actually do a full-on review and compare them to my studios in my room. That's so huge to be able to do that. They're great. Adelaide Studios. Have a great show, Andrew. Time to hit the studio. Get after it, man. Airtuber, Logic, Pro Tools. What would you say are the main differences between the two? I know there are a lot, but I'm wondering what you are thinking first and foremost. Yeah, it's just user interface. Logic is much more geared towards creative, just plug and play, kind of like GarageBand. And Pro Tools is much more getting really deep into, and don't get me wrong, Logic, you can do a lot of the same stuff as you can do in Pro Tools. But for the average player or songwriter or whatever, it's generally easy to get a template up and going and just start right away. Pro Tools, there's a little bit of a learning curve with the key commands and sort of finding the menus and how to do the specific things. It's very step by step. I made a video on that. You can check it out. Alan Hunter, yes. Polyphonic grooves, yes. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, for sure. Give that cute cat in the back a pet from me. Yo, hi. Icarus, come here. Come here, sweet girl. Oh, say what's up. Icarus has been with me since I was in recording school. Actually, since I first started at East West. I got her from my manager from East West. From her, she brought him in. She said, "Everybody take a cat." Yeah, she's cool. Time waster. I also delicately tapped the like button. Thank you. Yes, please smash the like button. Thank you very much. Also, cheers. I'm drinking coffee at 9 p.m. Cheers to all of us hanging out on a Friday night talking about this geeky stuff. Jake Davey Music. Hey, mate. Hello. AirTuber Andrew, good thing you've got that super chat on. Super chat for the win. Thank you. Yeah, man. Thank you to the super chats. Appreciate it, everybody. Yo, hi. What's the best tip that you got from a legend producer you got to work with? The qualifier in there is a tip that they gave me. A lot of the gems that I've gotten from producers weren't articulated. It was from observing them, and there's just such a delicate art to keeping it cool, meaning your attitude and your ability to just stay cool, no matter what is thrown at you. If things go wrong, just being able to play it off and sort of figure out a solution that, all right, well, we won't do that right now. We'll do, how about you go in there and we'll do this and we'll get that going and then you guys can work on that. Just keeping everybody sort of happy and productive. And it's almost like being a parent. The producer is essentially either taking on, I would say that the producer is essentially taking on a parental role. I've seen a lot of legendary artists who, especially the older folks who've kind of, had their heyday and maybe perhaps had a lot of substances and are, just sort of need their food and need their rest. And, watching a producer just sort of delicately, make sure, hey, why don't we take a break? Let's go get some sushi and go chill in the lounge and we'll come back, and then he'll give somebody else something to do to stay productive. Why don't you pull that session up and be detective of the drums? We're going to go get some food, make sure you get your order in or whatever. Just sort of being able to manage people and also just be able to be a person and talk with the person you're working with, the people around you, and take care of everybody. That's as crazy as that sounds. That is a huge part of producing, if not the majority of it. That's a big part of running the sessions. Diego Ortega. Hey, Andrew, love the channel. Keep up the great work. What are your thoughts on the never-ending controversy of analog gear versus digital plugins? I live in a world where everything is okay. I like analog and I like digital. There's things you can do with digital that you can't do with analog and vice versa. I say, why not both? Let's use both if you can. Why not? It's really cool. I've worked on plenty of sessions where I did a Weezer record and we cut Weezer out in the live room, standing up, singing and playing into mics at the same time in the same room. Like Rivers and a U47 in a man-made booth. Like we just put gobos together in the same room as the drums with his big diesel amp playing live together in a room, going straight to a Studer 24-track tape machine, recording live, full takes from top to bottom. And then, we would do as much as we could on the tape. I think we could do essentially 3 takes of a song, and we would just take a break after 3 takes, dump everything from tape right into Pro Tools. And at the end of the day, we did that for each song. At the end of the day, everything was in Pro Tools, but it started them playing in a room and going to a tape machine. The funny story about that is the producer, Jake Sinclair, actually gave me all the tape reels at the end of the day. As he was walking out, just playing it super cool, just turned to me. He's like, "Hey, you want this tape?" And I was like, "What? This is a joke?" Yeah. Tape's like $500. I was like, "You don't want it? Like, why do you not want it?" He's like, "I don't have a tape machine." He's like, "You do." So I've got some, I obviously have all of the sessions backed up on my hard drives, but I also have the tape, which is just amazing. He actually he did the same thing we did a Courtney Love session. So I have 2-inch multi-tracks of Weezer and Courtney Love from that producer. Shout out to Jake Sinclair. Thank you. I don't know if I answer your questions. I like them both. Rodrigo de la Cruz, congrats with the channel. Thank you. Moonlight, it's currently 4 a.m. in the morning in South Africa, and I'm enjoying this Q&A, but thank you for the response. Hey, man. Good morning, or miss. Funny thing about this channel, it's 97% of the people who watch are male. A lot of dudes. Cheers to 4 a.m. Q&A. I love that. Oh gosh, I'm not going to say this right. Ezekiel Osandon, I'm so sorry. Any tips on producing? Like when a singer comes along with a song idea, let's say chords and voice, where do you go after tracking the basics? Everyone who produces sort of has their own style and flavor. I have my own particular way. I think just the way to sort of improve on anything is being around people who are better than you at it. I came to my style of producing by watching guys like Billy Bush, Bob Rock. I did a session with Rick Rubin, Blake Mills. I could name drop and it would just be excessive. But just watching these guys with huge clients, people that you look up to and have listened to your whole life. Justin Timberlake. Watching and surrounding yourself, it's very hard to obviously wind up in the room with people like that, but just people who are better than you or work at, even if you don't like how they work, seeing how they do it and watching how they do it, you can learn just as much, if not more, from what not to do from others as you do from what to do. So, just do it as much as you can to sort of figure out. Another thing, and this applies to everything. I tell people this with like making YouTube videos as well. Just start doing it and finish it. Start something. If you're going to produce a song, start it, go through it, even if you make mistakes, and finish it, and then move on and do another. Because the goal is not like I'm going to produce the best song on my first try or second try or third try. It's I'm going to start producing, and then I'm going to have a bunch of stuff I've produced, and a lot of the early stuff is not going to be that good. But I've done the process of completing things, and I'm looking on a macro scale and improving the process of producing. I'm starting to figure out, okay, this could have been done a little bit better. Now on the second song, we're going to do this a lot better on this time. You 10, 20, 30 songs deep into producing, you're going to kind of know the way to go about doing it, especially the way that works for you. MRO the Viking, I have an analog Neve pre and I'd like to use it without latency. Can you record in Logic through the Apollo, but with the outboard Neve going into the Apollo and have no latency? Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's technically, I don't know if I can say there's no latency. But in Logic, however you're getting in there, you can go, you figure it out. You make the track, set the input, get your Neve going into it. When you have that track in record, there's a actual setting in the transport. If you can't see it, you can right-click in the transport and add in the low latency monitoring. That will give you basically latency-free monitoring while you're recording. That's what I've always done, and that works really, really well. This is as good as it's going to get if you're not using console. If you have the Apollo and you're using console, then just record into Logic and mute the track in Logic and just monitor through console. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't have a name. Are you related to Peter McKinnon? Yeah, I wonder at what point that's going to be weird. I love Peter McKinnon. I'll never get tired of hearing that. Yo, hi, Portal. That's so cool. Ronel Drapeza. How much drum programming do you do alongside recording real drums? Depends on the genre. Yeah, man. Depends on everything. Sometimes I'll do both in a song. Sometimes, for instance, one of the records I just produced, there's a song on it that starts with acoustic, and there's some keyboards sort of doing some melodies, and there's no drums. And then on the turnaround from the A part of the verse to the B part of the verse, on the turnaround, so a programmed loop comes in where it's just kick, snare, kick, snare. It's like a lo-fi kind of tape sounding loop that's programmed, and that kind of carries the B section of the verse. And then going into the pre-chorus, into the chorus, then the live drums kick in over it. And honestly, I think I just let the programmed loops stay in through the song. So as long as there's not too much competing between the frequencies of the low and high frequencies, then yeah, you can get really creative with that. Benjamin Kelly, how long did it take you to feel confident that you were working fast enough and had good sounding production? I don't think you'll ever, I don't know. Lately, I've been very happy, and it has a lot to do with, I built this room the way that I wanted it. This is like my 10th year doing this professionally, so this is not like a quick thing that just happened. But now that, I've got my 16 inputs, I've got some good sounding stuff. I've got some Neve pre's outboard, the warm audio ones. I've got, a good listening setup. All of my inputs are just routed and always ready. Having that really helps eliminate waiting and setup time. I'm working on a video right now about sort of the ergonomics of a home studio, and that'll be coming out hopefully on Monday. But yeah, just setting up, having wherever you're working, just be as efficient as possible. I mean, you learn in the big rooms working with producers to be fast, especially if you work on a string session with some orchestras. You got 60 people in the live room with headphones, a producer, a director, 10 people behind you over your shoulder, somebody at the console. That makes you work fast. And templates, import session data, whatever you got to do to be fast, you don't want to be waiting. So, just doing it and figuring out ways to be faster. There's really no other rule than just do it and repeat and improve. Yo, hi, Portal. What made you leave LA? Kind of a combination of things. There was a lot of things. I wanted to not be an assistant engineer for life, and I got 5 years in at East West in Hollywood working with, I could name drop for days, and I got to a point where I actually learned a lot from these people, and I knew that I could continue on this path of assisting full time and working with all these people and having a very comfortable setup. By no means was it difficult. I got to a point when I was working with Blake Mills, it was just silly. I think I was 23 years old, and I'd show up to work, and you walk into the best studio ever, and my friends, the staff, would go get coffee and breakfast for us, and the runners who are doing the setup would do a lot of the actual plugging stuff in. I would just sort of be like the middleman between getting things done and making sure that I'm sort of like coordinator and also running, patching, and control room stuff. But I'm like right with the producer sort of the whole time, so it was very, very cozy. You're hanging out with so it was very comfortable, and I was nervous about how comfortable I was, and there was a lot of people I worked with who, had been doing it a long time, and I was sort of worried, about the impact of doing that for 10 plus years and sort of not challenging myself more. Essentially, I wanted a challenge. I also wanted to raise a family. I wanted to get married, own property, and, sort of grow into my own thing. And here we are 4-5 years later in Nashville, Tennessee, and married with family, got my own thing. It's going really well. That's exactly what I'm doing now is essentially what I wanted to do. It just took a little while. Ezekiel Osanda, thank you for your response. Cheers from Chile. Love the channel. Thank you. Cheers. Cheers. I'm going to take every opportunity to drink this. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's a joke, sort of, me saying that, but it helps tremendously, and I know you guys do it, and you guys are really awesome, so thank you so much for doing that. Diego Ortega, thanks for your response. Also, what do you think are the essentials for a great mix? Dude, it's what we call the good equation. Good song, right from the get-go. Good song, good players, people who are playing it, good room for them to play it in, good mics on whatever they're playing, good cables, good interface, good mic pre's, good engineer. Like, it's every single part of the equation is a cocktail of, is an ingredient to a cocktail of what is the end result, and each ingredient that is compromised or could have been better is ultimately what makes a better finished product. So same thing with a great mix, a great, very well recorded project, great song, great players, great session data management, everything shows up and works when you pull it up. These are all big things. Ethan Standard. What do people want to see from an intern just starting out in a studio? And what do you think is most important for me, the intern, to pay attention to when in that setting? Also, what are your favorite plugins or favorite mastering plugins? What do people want to see from an intern? Well, it depends on the studio. I've worked at East West, and I've worked at Blackbird, and I've worked as an intern in like a production house, and it really depends on sort of the system where you're at and how they operate stuff. But essentially you want the intern to take care of things so that you don't have to think about, like, is there coffee? Like, oh, we're out of coffee. Why are we out of coffee? Just like petty. It's really a bummer for an intern, but the idea is your job as an intern is to demonstrate that you can problem solve. And it's really kind of disappointing as the intern that the problems you're solving have nothing to do with recording or engineering, but that they're much more mundane things like getting coffee for people or food for people. The way that Candace Stewart said in my first couple days, or maybe even at my interview at East West, was, you're going to start off doing runs. You're going to be getting things. You're going to be stocking things. You're going to be making sure that things are in the right rooms before the session starts. People can find what they need. You're going to be keeping track of, supplies and stuff like that. And the thinking is, if I can't trust you with my coffee order, why would I trust you with a $10,000 microphone in the room with John Mayer? So show me that you can take an order, go get it, bring it back on time to the right people, and not mess that up. And then eventually you start working your way into a room. The way you would get ahead where I came up was, you would basically establish a relationship with one of the assistants, one of the guys who's working on the session in the room, and get them to like you. Hey man, is there anything I can get you? Did you need that mic from the other room? I can grab that from the other. Find ways to get in the room, literally. Once you're in the room and you become, people recognize you and like having you around, that's the way to sort of move ahead. And then people go, that dude, Ethan helped me out on that session. He was awesome. Can I have him today? And then suddenly you're sort of, people depend on you. And once people depend on you, they start trusting you, so on and so forth. What's your favorite mastering plugins? I don't really know. I like Ozone. I don't necessarily master. I like hiring mastering engineers. I very much appreciate playing my role and passing it off to a fresh pair of ears who can be objective and add their flavor in. There's no way this is another super chat. Oh my God, Polyphonic Groove, bro. Holy cow, thank you so much for the super chats. When you are just engineering a project, what is the proper studio etiquette between engineer and producer? Example, if the band asks you for your input, how do you handle that without pissing? Yeah, how do you do that without pissing off the producer? Well, so there are basically in the studio, if there is a producer, if there is an engineer, and there are two separate people, there's a very clearly defined roles. Producer is the boss. The producer is paying the bills. He's paying everyone. He's coordinating everyone. You are being hired by the producer to do your job. So if there is let's see, what is the proper example? If a band asks you for your input, how do you handle that? Okay, so here's a perfect example. I did a session with Steve Wilson. It's like a prog rock band. I think it's called the Steve Wilson Band. And the guy who was producing it was Alan Parsons from the Alan Parsons Project, which is another legend and old school dude. And so this band, all the gear shows up before they do. We set up all of their incredible gear. There's a drum tech, there's techs who work with the band, who get things set up how they want before the musicians arrive. The guitar is Steve Wilson. It's a very guitar dominant band. There's a bunch of cabs. We put the cabs in a separate room, and they're all sort of lined up. And meanwhile, as the engineer, we got the input sheet from the producer. And I think Alan was technically producer / engineer on this. But so he gave us a setup with the mics, and it was going into tape. Or maybe it was, I don't remember if we were going to tape, but it was 24 inputs. The dude just wanted to use 24 mics, or maybe even 23 mics, and then one open for click or something. And, that's pretty simple. We're pumped when it's that simple, and that's everything. Drums, guitars, bass, vocals, like that's 23, 24 mics. That's everything. So we got that all set up. Meanwhile, all the gear was showing up, and the guitarist Steve showed up, and we had the 23, 24 mics set up for the whole thing. And he walks into the guitar cab room, and he's like, so we've got 4 amps here. We want a Royer 121, an SM57, and a Sennheiser 421 on each cab. And I was like, okay, so at that point, my role is to answer to the producer, which is Alan, and he wasn't there yet. So what do? I tell the runners, hey, go get 3 or 4 of these, each of these mics, bring them in here, find some stands to throw them on, and we'll just run lines to them and see what happens from there, And Alan shows up, and I could be mistaken. This was my impression when how he hit me when he walked in the room. He reminded me of Hagrid from Harry Potter. Big dude, very just sort of, I don't want to say dark, but he walked in the room and didn't say anything. And he just looked at everybody in the room, and then he walked up to the closest person in the room and introduced himself, looked right in their eyes and said, "Hi, I'm Alan, blah, blah, blah." Went through and introduced himself to every single. By the time he got to me, I was like, "Hey, real quick, I was like, let me show you some stuff." I walked him into the amp room and I showed him. I was like, "Hey, so I got your setup. Everything's ran how you asked, but Steve asked me to mic all of these cabs individually. So I put the mics up and there's XLRs ran to them, but they're not plugged in." And Alan just looks at me, and this is the gem of producing that I was talking about earlier, which is just plain and cool. He looks at it and he goes, "Cool." He's like, "Yeah, just use the setup that I sent you." He's like, "But you can leave." He's like, "You can leave the mics where they are." So essentially he was like, "Go ahead and let him think that we're using those mics." He's like, "We're going to use my setup." And ultimately, in the control room, we're pulling stuff up. Ultimately, he does his one mic, on the cab, the way it places it, uses, whatever pre's and compressors, how he likes it. And see, they don't bat an eye. They're just like, they're like, they think it's great. It sounds awesome. Sorry, I'm a little distracted over here. Yeah, they thought that they were getting, all their cabs individually mic'd, and he was just using one or two mics. So yeah, that was hilarious. A perfect situation of just playing it cool. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question here. Let me see. Diego Ortega. Movie kit. Oh gosh, there's so many here. Let me see. Wow. Sorry guys. Let me see. Okay, are you a Melodyne master these days? It seems most artists use some form of autotune. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm never been a big tuning guy. I mean, I tune if it's necessary. I always, as if I'm engineering, we're just solving problems at this point. If you correct what needs correcting. So yeah, I mean, do it if I have to. When I'm producing, we're just going for the best execution of the line. So even sometimes there's some pitch stuff and it's, it sounds better a little pitchy than it does. Ultimately, you just want to get the emotion. You want to get the point across from the singer. Yeah, I use Antares, not Melodyne. Javier, what song can we hear that you've participated in? Oh, man. Thanks, Andrew. I've got a big sort of playlist here. A lot of stuff, man. Let me see. Yeah, it all kind of becomes a blur at some point. Mixes, credits. Okay, here we go. A cool one I did with Dan Wilson, who was from the band Semisonic. They had that big song Closing Time. He's just a killer writer and producer. We did a record with Rita Wilson, who's Tom Hanks' wife. And it was called Along for the Ride, I think. Let me know if you guys can hear this. I think you should be able to hear this if I play this. Yeah, this was a record we did called, it was a self-titled record. It was Rita Wilson. The song's called Along for the Ride. I got to be careful on what I play here because of copyright stuff. But you can check out that Rita Wilson record. There's a John Legend, Darkness and Light record. I did a Tegan and Sarah record. I think that record was called Heartthrob. I worked on the Muse, the Second Law record, which was just so epic. the Dawes record, When We're All Gonna Die, Weezer's self-titled White Album, Ghost. If you guys know the Swedish metal band Ghost, that was a very crazy, very interesting session. We did a record called Meliora. Wound up winning a Grammy. That was, a lot of these records, unfortunately in the industry, you can kind of get stiffed on credits, and it is what it is. But that was a really fun one to watch, and very interesting band. Sum 41, 13 Voices did that record. Some drums on that. Jim James. So the name of the Jim James record is Eternally Even. You guys are about to get the cat treatment here. I did a little bit of help on the channel. I'm sorry. Is it Channel Orange? Is that right? From Frank Ocean. That was right when I started, essentially, at East West. Any of those records. I've done some more local. I did Ozamali and a few other things. And then obviously a lot of local Nashville and LA people. Shout out Andrew McGrath, SJ McDonald, Marcus Meston, all good people. That lamp though, classy bro. Thank you. Yeah, it's actually a combination of a lamp and then another lampshade. When you're doing these videos, you got to just get creative. I'm pretty lazy with it. What are some good studio monitors? This is Lane Jones. That lamp, though, was Sean Hebert. Lane Jones, what are some good studio monitors when you're starting out? Less than $500 total. I'd say, at that budget, all of the, for the most part, most of the speakers sound the same. There's little subtle differences. You're just basically picking the size of the speaker that you want. It's usually 3.5-inch cones versus 5-inch cones or 8 inches. I used the M Audio BX5s and BX8s for a long time. Those were fine. They're all those speakers are sort of have little high-end boosts and low-end boosts, so they're a little hi-fi and a little a little hyped, but not bad. You get used to them. Ultimately, it doesn't matter as long as you're used to the speakers. Obviously, it's nice having nicer speakers. NS10s, well, those are expensive. David Sutton, hey, want to set up a studio for a live band recording? Do you recommend I start with a digital mixer or a multi-channel interface? I would do a multi-channel interface, personally, because, it's expandable, but it's up to you, man. Whatever works makes it easiest, and sort of makes it so you don't have to think about it. I personally would go with the multi-channel interface. Yo, hi, Portal. How old are you? How dare you, if I may ask? I am 29. Ronald Trapeza. Are you involved in any sync placements? Any thought on how to get involved in that world? Am I? I don't think so. Oh, it's complicated. I've worked on some projects that have been synced, but I personally am not making music for sync. I'm always trying to consider that when I'm producing somebody else's music. We want it to be obviously used on as many things as we can, so it doesn't hurt to consider that when you're producing a song. Just pick Movie Kid Tech Life. Just picked up the 8XP UAD Apollo. What's the best ADAT preamp to add inputs? The best? I guess I would say it depends on what you mean by the best. I would just grab another Apollo if you were just looking for the best. If not, if you mean affordable, any of the Focusrite stuff, or I don't know, Presonus or something like that. The quality stuff, I like the Apollo. I like using. I have the Warm Audio. I'm a big fan of Warm Audio's mic pre's. I spent a lot of time shooting out the Neve 1073s that Warm Audio makes versus the actual Neve pre's. it's stupid how close they are and what a price difference there is. So the fact that, I can get 2 Neve channels, essentially a a high pass filter, a line trim, phantom power, phase flip, instrument in, line input, and an insert mod on each channel for $1,000 total is ridiculous, because those are like $4,000 channels. So in other words, you'd be spending $8,000 for 2 channels, and instead you spend $1,000 for 2 channels. So yeah, the Warm Audio pre's are excellent, and you can go line out into the Apollo and it sounds ridiculous. Yeah. Good luck with that, movie kid. Dave Sutton, the YouTube algorithm, seriously, smash like. I love all you guys so much. New video coming out on Monday. Excited about that one. Excited about doing these streams. The YouTube algorithm. Lane Jones, $500 C80. I don't know what that means. Movie Kid Tech. The Focusrite Octopre, Digimax or Audient. Digimax or Audient for extra 8 channels. I've only used the Focusrite, and those are pretty good. I've also only used the Scarlett version of the Focusrite. I've heard good stuff about Audient, if I'm pronouncing that right. I've heard good stuff about Focusrite Claret. I haven't used the Octopre. Diego Ortega, thanks for the response. Thanks for the responses. Greetings from Mexico. Good luck, Andrew. Thank you. Julian Fernandez. I'm sorry again. I'm sorry, everyone, if I pronounce your name wrong. Sup, guys? Sup? Holy cow! There is a lot of you guys are. Okay, let's see. Octsai. I'm gonna assume that's how you, or Octopussy. I play drums, guitar, bass, and I do vocals. I have like half of a home studio, and I have made pretty good songs. Are there any shortcuts and Pro Tools that will make things easier? All of them. Yes. If the less that you have to reach for the mouse, the better. When I use Pro Tools, it's like muscle memory at this point. I couldn't even tell you a lot of the keys, the commands, because I just do them at this point. But yeah, definitely always go in on the key commands. Let's see. Okay. You guys are hilarious. Love Meliora. Cool, thanks. Cool, man, thanks. Do you know Adrian Bradford? Maybe. Sounds familiar. My camera's about to die, by the way. Just a heads up. I don't know when it's going to go out. Probably wrap up here pretty soon. 9:41. Dude, we've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the chats and the super chats. And Polyphonic Groove, you're awesome. What can I say about the difference between analog pre's that UAD models versus their plugin? Javier Amato. I haven't shot them out. I don't know. I'm sort of crossing my fingers, hoping that Universal Audio wants to just hook me up with some stuff. If you guys want to go tell Universal Audio to just give me the stuff, I'm not going to buy. I can't afford it. The only way that I would do it is I would just buy all of their plugins, and I can't. That's not feasible for me right now. So once I have them, whenever that happens, I'm definitely going to be doing the shootout, because I'm fascinated with that stuff, and I'd love to hear the difference between the analog version and the software Unison pre's. Those are great. Going to kind of skim through here. I'm just going to shout out everybody, because my camera's going to die any second here. Polyphonic Groove, you're the man. Jake Cook, thank you. Dakota Haken, thank you. Javier, thank you. Matthias. I have a friend named Matthias. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that the same. Thank you. I'm a piano, thinking about buying a stage piano and MIDI controller. Which one should I pick? Thinking USD, $1,000 tops. Oh, man, $1,000 tops. I don't know. You can get something like the Casio Privia. That's got sounds in it. You can do line out, and it's got a USB, so you can use it as a MIDI controller, and it's 88 keys weighted. That's like $400 or $500. That's a good one. save you some money, get some extra, something else on the top of it. I would say get both. Dakota, Cali LP8, Adam TV7, possibility, good choices in that firearm. Yep. Thank you, David Sutton. Thank you, Mark Weirtz. Hi, Andrew. Love your videos, especially Studio Build. Thank you. Brian, what DAW do you use? I use Pro Tools primarily for everything. I've been flirting with Luna. I love Logic. It's not exclusive. Nishanth. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Nishanth. Hi, Andrew. Sir, please put a video on one mic drum recording. I will. It's going to be the R88, though. So, Ezekiel, have you tried Aston mics? I have not. Thanks, man. Michael, thank you. How hard is it to get endorsements? I don't know. Well, I mean, you just do things that people want to endorse. So, I mean, for me, I'm just doing this with these videos, and some people reach out to me because of this. So it's crazy. Start a YouTube channel, start making videos and do it and have fun. Yeah. Okay. Matthias, great, man. Cheers. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to jump off here because the camera's going to go out any second. I love you guys. Smash like. See you on Monday. I'm just doing these Monday through Friday. So I will see you on Monday. Videos going live on Monday. And yeah, cheers.